Lead sheets are my favorite form of sheet music. They are preferred due to their simplicity and extremely efficient display of musical information. A lead sheet provides you with nothing more than the absolutely essential material of any song or tune. They're easy to write, easy to read, and I use them on a daily basis. In this video, I'll teach you how to read a lead sheet. As an example of the form, we have here a simple lead sheet of the 1918 popular hit song After You've Gone by Turner Layton and Henry Creamer. If you're like me, you heard this song in BioShock Infinite. It's a sweet little number and it's been recorded about 1 million times. I didn't transcribe this one, but I adapted it from an old piano and voice arrangement. So here's the basic anatomy. At the top, we have the title of the song. Great. Over here, we see that it was written by Layton and Creamer. And here, this tells us the tempo and or style of the tune. As we can see, this one is a ballad. You might see some lead sheets give you an actual metronome marking, but this says enough. And here we find the real meat and potatoes. There are just two main components, the notes and the chords. In this case, we also have lyrics, but sometimes there won't be any lyrics. I usually don't write them in, but I did here just to demonstrate. The notes, I hope, should be simple enough. There is only one staff, and it is our melody. There aren't any in this particular example, but you would also find any appropriate repeat signs, or DC or DS markings, codas, etc. that spell out the song's form. Here, we see two rehearsal letters to mark down the different sections of the song. This one shows us the verse of the song, and this one here shows us where the chorus begins. But it's probably the chord symbols that most folks have a hard time interpreting. These symbols indicate the chord progression of the song. To understand these symbols, you need to understand the basic structure of chords. For more complex tunes, these symbols could be rather intricate, but this song is fairly simple with only triads, 6th chords, and 7th chords. If you see just a capital letter by itself, that refers to a major chord with that note as its root. The first bar has a capital C above it, so that means that our harmony is a C major chord. A capital letter with a lowercase letter m next to it indicates a minor chord. This bar is A minor. If there's a 7 next to the note letter, that indicates a dominant 7th chord with that note as the root. A dominant 7th chord is just a major chord with an added minor 7. On the downbeat of bar 2, we see a D dominant 7 chord, and on beat 3, the chord switches to G dominant 7. And then that G7 resolves to a C major on beat 1 of the next bar. Make sense? When you see a slash next to a chord symbol, that means that the bass is playing something other than the root. If there's no slash, you assume that the chord is in root position. But here, we see E7 over G sharp. The chord is E dominant 7, as we established earlier, but now there's more information. In addition to the E dominant 7 harmony, the bass part should be playing a G sharp on the downbeat. And if you're familiar with music theory, then you know that this is called first inversion. A capital letter followed by maj 7 means, you guessed it, a major 7th chord. You might also see major 7th written in this way with the triangle. A 6 shows a major 6 chord, and a lowercase m6 means a minor 6 chord. There are some other symbols out there, but these are the basics. It's also worth noting that there is some variation with these markings. Major 7 can be written a few different ways. Some folks prefer the minus sign instead of lowercase m for minor chords. Half diminished has 2 common forms, and so on. This is just the way that I prefer to write them. For most of my videos, I write my own lead sheets when I transcribe tunes, but you can find lead sheets all over the place. You'll find books containing what are essentially simple piano arrangements with chord symbols on top. The melody will usually be in the right hand and can be read just like a single staff lead sheet, with the addition of a bass part in the left hand and more information like chord voicings, counter melodies, and so on. I put together this particular lead sheet for this particular video, but please now allow me to show you another example that is much more like those that I actually write and use. This is the Song of the Volga Boatman. You'll notice the tune is a bit shorter, and I've excluded information like the composer, lyrics, and tempo. I also don't prefer writing key signatures on my lead sheets. I've got the title, melody, chord changes, and repeat signs, and that's pretty much it. With this bare-bones structure, I can go ahead and create my own arrangement on accordion or whatever else, which leads me to my final point. The truth is, this kind of sheet music is what I'd call a guideline. After You've Gone is written here in the key of C major, but that doesn't mean you aren't allowed to transpose it. And if you're performing this with a singer, then there's a good chance you'll actually need to play it in a different key. Harmonically, it's a simple tune, and there are many different ways to harmonize this melody. You don't have to play these chord changes exactly how they're written, and you may voice them however you like on whatever instruments you choose. And if you're playing the melody, you need not be confined to the exact pitches and rhythms on the page. Any decent soloist is going to change things here or there, even slightly. The tempo marking does say ballad, but that doesn't mean you can't play it faster.
After you've gone and left me crying, after you've gone, there's no denying. You see me.
And this flexibility is the biggest reason why I adore the lead sheet. While delivering the core musical data to the player, it still invites enormous creativity and spontaneity. This is a quality that you cannot find with traditional sheet music. And while it does require a good deal of musical skill and intuition to get the most out of a lead sheet, I think that any player would be doing themselves a big favor by at least becoming familiar with the format. Please leave any questions in the comment section, and thanks for watching.